Fighting the enemy at 7 fronts, another battle is emerging for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. There is rising public dissent and friction with the defense minister as well. His allies are also getting vocal against Israel's strategy in Gaza. The question being, will these factors alter Netanyahu's approach to the war? Our next report explains.
Israel is fighting a battle on 7 fronts. That grim declaration by the Israeli Defense Minister, Yoav Gallant, this week did not only refer to battles on geographical borders, but also with Iran and Hamas backers across the region.
We are in a multi-arena war. We are being attacked from 7 different sectors: Gaza, Lebanon, Syria, Judea and Samaria, Iraq, Yemen and Iran. We have already responded and taken action of these sectors, and I say here in the most explicit way, anyone who acts against us is a potential target. There is no immunity for anyone.
Gallant warned that anyone who acted against Israel will have to pay the price. He also stopped short of saying on which fronts Israel had acted upon. Outside the borders of Israel, another front is simmering from within. The Israeli population is increasingly showing its discontent over the Netanyahu government's approach on Gaza. They want the hostages to be brought back and the missiles to stop raining on Gaza.
We are asking them to stop the war, to focus on bringing the civilians home that they were supposed to protect.
We're actually asking from them to create another hostage return, to create another deal so that we can get everyone back. There's no one that should be left there.
But Netanyahu and his war cabinet have refused to budge on Gaza, despite the domestic and international pressure, and have even threatened to intensify their campaign. Behind closed doors, their ongoing talks have featured potential ceasefire deals. Israel's negotiators in Europe held talks on a possible truce, but as soon as they returned home, something else was brewing. Netanyahu and Gallant have been in the government for a long time together. They've also had their fair share of friction. There are reports emerging that Bibi has barred his defense minister from holding meetings and discussing details of hostage talks with Mossad chief David Barnea in his absence. On at least 2 occasions, Gallant reportedly invited Barnea for meetings. After this, he received messages from Netanyahu's office that the premier disapproved of such talks. The Prime Minister's office said in response to the report that there were no such limitations on Gallant or Barnea. It also added that the War Cabinet is the only body that outlines policy and decides on the hostages, and there's no exception for anyone. In front of the cameras, both leaders say that they are working in step during the ongoing war. But the cracks in their relationship were on display on a handful of occasions. Reports indicated that Gallant pressed heavily to have the IDF launch a major campaign against Hezbollah in the initial days of the war. Netanyahu opposed and ultimately buried the idea. Earlier this year, Netanyahu fired Gallant for expressing public disapproval of his government's rush to pass a contentious judicial overhaul bill. Gallant's sacking set off a public uproar with protests and violent outrage. It forced Prime Minister to quietly retract his decision and leave Gallant at his post.